So good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's teaching or meditation here at Tara Institute, and welcome back, everybody, post-COVID. It's great to see people here again, so it's great. So tonight I'm going to speak really about meditation, and then we'll do a couple of meditations depending on time. And then we'll have time for some questions and answer at the end. So I guess everybody here is interested in meditation, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But I thought I'd just go through the really basic idea about meditation, because sometimes there's some misconceptions, or there's some words like mindfulness thrown about a lot, or there's lots of different meditations. So just sort of pull it right back to the basics, I guess. And so meditation is a term that we hear a lot these days, and for good reason. Science is proving that it's beneficial and in the recovery of trauma and general well-being. And just, I guess, it's been proven that meditation is good for us. So we really need to examine why and what it is before we can embark on doing it, I guess. So I thought I'd start there. So basically meditation is really just us engaging with our own mind. So it's something you do by yourself, and it's something that is very, very personal to you and your mind. And so that's really, it is engaging with your mind. And I think sometimes that point is sort of missed. And so then we have to ask ourselves, well, what is mind? Okay, I'm going to sit and meditate. Do we really think, what does that mean? What am I doing when I'm meditating? So really what we're doing is engaging with our mind in a very direct way. And so then we have to ask ourselves, what is mind? What is our mind? And so from a Buddhist perspective, the mind is very simply put, is that it's a non-physical thing, and it's really described as being clear and knowing. So that's all that the mind is. So the clarity of mind has clarity, spaciousness, luminosity, and then the mind functions through cognizing. So the mind thinks, and we know that's what our mind really does. Our mind is the ability to think. And so it does it through these two aspects of being clear, luminous, and knowing. And knowing, it means, cognizing means it reflects back an object. So it's like, the analogy best used is like a mirror. So mirrors are clean and clear, and they know the object. If you stand in front of a mirror, or you put something in front of the mirror, whatever that object is, it will be reflected back exactly how it is. So that's really how we can think of our mind. Just quite simply, we can think of our mind in that very simple terms of being very spacious, luminous quality, and then being able to reflect back objects that appear to the mind. So we know objects appear to our mind through our five senses: eye, ear, nose, touch, taste, and also through our mental sense. So we can think of something and then we can think of something else. Appearances and thoughts can appear to our mind. So other than those five vehicles, that is how the mind interacts. Our senses, we see each other, and then the mind reflects back each other. The room, we hear, and through our ear sense presents to our mind. Once these objects appear to our mind then goes to work. It has a whole raft of thoughts, and then those thoughts can quickly lead to like and dislike. or neutral, so our mind develops feelings. From when things are presented to our mind, we can cognise them, we can think about them, we actually label them back, and then we create a feeling towards that object, which is either like, dislike, or we can be neutral. And then that leads to more thoughts and more thoughts. And because you like or dislike something, you might then feel an impetus to act, to go after or to run from that object. So really, we have to really know our mind to meditate on our mind, because if we don't really know what we're doing to some degree. So from a very basic level, this is how our mind is always cognising, thinking, feeling, discerning, and then from that it makes a whole lot of judgments, labelling, it labels, and then from there judgments, like, dislike, this, that, and it's this very dualistic kind of relationship we have with the world and ourselves. So it's good to reflect on that, because to reflect on how, is that true? Is that true for you? So we're just going to do a little bit of an exercise, because it's good to see, to meditate you have to know your mind. You have to be able to think, is this how my mind works? How do my thoughts come and go? What's happening in my mind? How are my emotions responding or reacting? What are they reacting to and why? So everybody just think of something, either something that, not high level, but mid-range, let's say, something that annoyed you recently or you're a bit angry about, or think of something that you're very excited about, looking forward to, you're really wanting. So if you just think, sit there for a bit and bring something to mind, either good or bad, doesn't matter, as long as it's something to mind, and just sit and think about it. Something might have happened to you recently, or you're projecting into the future. And now reflect, just sit there with your eyes closed and try and now analyse what happened. What was happening for you? Did you quickly notice one thought led to another thought, led to another thought, and before you knew it, you were off in the future or the past? Did some emotion arise in relation to that object? Excitement or happiness, anger, annoyance? Did you create a whole drama out of that object, dragging other people into your mind, other thoughts, fears, concerns, worries? Or did you build expectation or judgment? If you did any or all of the above, that's very, very normal. Because that is our mind. You're just reflecting on your everyday mental experience. So this is really good to do, because if you meditate, you need a baseline, I guess. You need to know how does your mind generally function? How do you experience your mind? Of course, what we are actually experiencing there are our really gross level conceptualizations. It's our gross level mind, our most coarsest level of our mind. Lots of runaway thoughts, lots of quick emotions, expectations, lots of shopping lists and maybe some underlying anxiety or panic, maybe some excitement or expectation. Maybe you noticed an underlying annoyance or depression or something running through. So really that's normal. That's our mind. We can all agree that these are the things that happen in our mind all of the time. And because our mind is always engaging in an object. That's what the mind does, remember? The mind always has an object appear to it, whether it's sight, sounds, or all of those things. And our mind will arise in the appearance of that object and then label and create a whole lot of thoughts and judgments and stories around that object. And these become quite habituated. So if we're slightly depressed or we have a tendency to be negative, looking, half glass full, before we know it, it's just a habituated pattern of our mind that's colouring our experiences. And we can also see that it is our mind that is our source of happiness and suffering. So it's not necessarily the object itself, it's how the object appears to our mind and then how we interpret that appearance and how then we act towards that object. Which sometimes we miss that part. We think an object in itself brings us happiness or an object in itself causes us suffering. But then we can think, how does our mind engage that object? So understanding our mind gives us an opportunity to ask that question. And we can see that our minds really do just run on automatic pilot. We don't even think about them, they just are always holding an object and responding, whether it's through our senses or through our mental thinking, and it's generally more than once. So, with meditation then, we want to engage the mind. And so what we saw before is our mind is always engaged. Our minds are never not having an object. Because like a mirror, there's always an object that can be reflected. So through meditation we start to engage our mind in a very different way than our mind always been on this sort of treadmill of thoughts and emotions and us reacting and responding to them. And engaging. So we always engage them, but we engage them with a whole lot of chatter and uncontrollable, habituated thinking. So in meditation, what we are doing is really doing something quite different. But this doesn't mean in meditation that we're going to try and force ourselves to stop thinking, which I think is another misconception people have about meditation. You've got to stop the thoughts. Well, you can't stop a mirror from reflecting an object. So it's not about meditation is never about forcing or trying to make something happen in our mind. It's really quite the opposite. So on that little exercise we did, if you think about what you were thinking or what happened for you, generally we spend our time thinking about the past or about the future. I'm not sure, were you thinking about something that's going to happen next week or thinking about something that happened today or yesterday or last week? So I'm sure most people that was true. So actually your mind then isn't in the moment, your mind is caught somewhere else. And that's what they say. It's your mind is caught either in the future or in the past, which kind of don't exist. So they're in some fabricated future or it's in some fabricated past, which, as you found out, is a conceptual state of mind, it's a thought. So we think we're thinking all these things that are about the future or about our past, and a lot of it's just chatter and noise. Chatter and noise that drive anxiety, because it's worrying about the future, or depressed about the past. And we set, as you saw in that little exercise, how easy it is to get caught into that vortex of thoughts that either had an excitement, I need, I want, I'm getting, that's really great, or I'm worried, I'm concerned, that was really bad, I'm really angry, past or present, past or future. And we're so caught up. So meditation is really taking a break from that kind of conceptual minds over too many conceptual minds. It's really taking a step back. So then in meditation, which I'm sure everybody's heard about, is the idea of mindfulness. So mindfulness is this idea of being present, not thinking future, past, future, but being, not even thinking moment, just being moment. And then when we meditate on the mind, it's just being in the moment with mind. So thoughts will come. We know that's what our mind does. Our minds, literally our mind is a cognizing machine. So thoughts will come, thoughts will go. That's okay. We're not here to, change our mind, the basic function of our mind. Thoughts come, thoughts go. We just let them go. We don't get into the story of past or future with our thoughts. We stay in the present, and we let those thoughts come and go. Those thoughts, that thought itself is present. It's only when we engage that thought, we believe that thought to be something, that we're there pulled into the past or the future. But if we sit with thought, there's a thought in my mind, that was weird, then we're just observing thought. Then we're present with mind, with thought. And not the stories or the anxieties or the worry or the chatter. So that's that mindful awareness on mind. So really, the analogy that they use to describe the mind, the Buddhists use, which is really, really useful, I think, to help describe what we're trying to explain here, is like you liken the mind to the sky. So we know sky is spacious and luminous, expansive. We also know that the spaciousness, the expansiveness, that luminosity allows things to arise within it. So clouds can come and go into the sky. So they're likened to the thoughts. Clouds are likened to thoughts. So we know that thoughts come, or clouds will come, and they'll abide you. If you look at a cloud, it never stays the same for even a second. It's changing and moving, and then it will eventually disappear. Or it might build to more, but eventually that cloud will disappear into the sky. So it's the same with if we have an incredibly stormy sky when it's dark and cloudy and we can't see any blue sky, and it's so thick and, you know, there's rain and wind, there's a big storm coming, those big dark heavy clouds roll in and they're black and they're heavy and dark. That's likened to our mind when we've got lots and lots of crazy conceptions going on. Our mind is so stirred up conceptually. And I think, you know, and I think you can reflect on that as well and feel when you're down or things aren't great or you're getting overwhelmed. You can liken your mind at that point to a stormy sky. And that's because the thoughts are basically out of control. But as we know also, all storms will pass. And even though those clouds are thick and heavy and dark, we know, nobody has to tell us, but we know above them there is the blue luminous sky, totally untouched by those clouds. Totally, totally untouched. Nothing can disturb that spacious expanse of sky. It can be obscured by clouds from our vantage point of down here looking up. Totally obscured, but doesn't go away, not damaged, just obscured for normally a short time. We don't have monsoons, so our skies clear very quickly. So again, this is really, if we think of the mind like that, and if you think of, again, reflect on your own conceptions, when you're not feeling great, think of the amount of thinking that's happening in your mind. It's not a calm state. When you're feeling a bit anxious, just reflect like we did before, and you will find that your mind is not in a calm state. So, you know, in a way, this should give us real hope. So even from our deepest, darkest depressions, and everybody has some level of depression, but even the deepest, darkest depression, our mind is untouched, unharmed. It's still luminous at its core, at those deeper levels. We're just dealing with our coarse levels, conceptions. And they're very, very powerful. They can feel really powerful and really heavy. When our mind gets so cluttered with them, so much conceptual minds going on, I don't know about, for me, it feels really heavy anyway. And so it's really a nice analogy to liken your mind to the sky at that time. And I think it's really hopeful that that's a very temporary kind of state. And one we can do something about. So that's really why we meditate, because we can do something about when our minds, our conceptual minds get out of control. You know, that's why we come to meditation, because we feel something's not right. And there is something that we can do. So that's meditate. And so the idea of meditation really is just to sit with your mind and watch those thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. And really, if you look at clouds, you know, in our Melbourne beautiful winter or autumn skies, the clouds come and go really quickly and they dissolve right back into the sky. And really, if you watch your thoughts in meditation, watching them, mindful, in the presence, or watching, not engaging, not chattering. Yes, I don't like that. Oh, no, I didn't like that. Oh, I didn't expect, you know, that's the chatter. Oh, she said, I'd said, oh my God, that's the chatter. But if you just watch a thought, oh, there's a thought, you know, and if you even try to hold that thought without engaging it, you will see, just like the clouds, you cannot hold that thought. That thought cannot, I don't know what a lifespan of a thought is, but it's seconds or nanoseconds. It's the thought after 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 thought that builds up our pictures. But if you try and look at that thought and pinpoint that thought, just like a cloud, very hard to hold on to it. And so the idea is then your thoughts begin to then slow down. So the mind's still cognizing because it's still reflecting mind to you. But those thoughts, because thoughts aren't our mind, they come from mind and they're function of mind. They're not mind, just like the clouds, they come from sky. They're a function of sky, they exist because sky exists. They come from the space of sky. They come in relation to sky, but they're not sky. Our thoughts are similar. They are of mind, they dissolve back into mind, but mind itself is much deeper. There's deeper levels of mind, less coarse levels of conceptualizations. And from a very, much more deeper Buddhist point of view, there's the non-conceptual states of mind, which are the spiritual attainment states. But from our point of view, from our everyday point of view, what we're so exhausted by and unhappy by are the heavy-duty conceptual minds that are just flooding us all the time. So meditation is a time to have a little chill down and to get to know your mind and to get to really know your mind by observing your mind and then getting to those less coarse conceptual states until more peaceful states of mind. So that's basically what we'll do, and I'll do 2 meditations. I think we've got time. But so when we do the second meditation, which will be on the mind, that's exactly what I want you to do, is just to sit with your mind. So thoughts are good. Thoughts aren't bad. Thoughts are what your mind does. Your mind will think. Also, if you've had a busy day or something, you'll have lots and lots of thoughts in your mind, or if you've got some stresses and that. Again, that's okay. That's the nature of your mind. Try and not get caught up. Just sit with mind and observe how your mind is working. And if you do get caught up, just try and just notice, I'm caught up, that's what mindfulness, it's telling you, introspection, I've got carried away, I'll stop and then reset. So that's fine. And we'll do the first meditation, which will be the 9-round breathing meditation. So we'll do that because this is a very good meditation to help start you off, to help clear some of those busy mind states. And I'll explain it and then I'll try and lead you through it if you're not familiar with it, because it's got some visualizations. And so this 9-round breathing meditation is always good to do first, and you only should do it once. You shouldn't just keep doing it each time. My mind's still not clear, I'll do it again. If after one time you've done this meditation and your mind's still not so clear, you can then go on to a breathing meditation to 21, and then you could move on to your mind placement. So it's better to do short, a few minutes this one, a few minutes that one, and then go on to your placement on mind, rather than just, trying to force. So meditation, again, don't force. It's as soon as you're forcing your mind, you're back to expectations. You're back to, I'm bad at this. So already there's a story. You already lost the meditation. As soon as you start judging yourself in meditation, that you've lost the object, because you're... And again, so this is why meditation, even if we're bad at it, is good, because we're learning not to be so judgmental of ourselves, because we're learning that that's, it's not a positive mental state. Judgment sets up those conceptual states of mind. And that leads to, oh, I'm so bad at this, maybe I shouldn't do that, and off you go. So we're trying to break some of those, getting caught up in those sort of negative mental states. Think of the stormy sky. We want bright blue skies. So the 9-point breathing meditation, basically what it is you're breathing through the right nostril and you're breathing out the left nostril. You do that 3 times. And then you're breathing through the left nostril and out of the right nostril. Do that 3 times. And then you're breathing in both nostrils and out both nostrils 3 times. So it has a visualization that goes along with it. So I'll explain the visualization and then I'll lead it. So the visualization is, so again, you imagine that you have like an energy channel that runs, the first one runs from your eyebrow, the mid-brow, and it wraps around your head and runs in front of your spine, and it's about 4 finger widths. It ends there, and it's about that thick. A small bamboo, they say, and it runs like that. And it's a clear, like a glass, crystal type of tube, like an umbrella hook over your head and down like that. Then from each nostril, your right nostril, you have one that runs alongside it. And they say this one's like the size of a wheat, a stalk of wheat. And that one's a red channel. And then you have one on your left, from your left nostril running again, curving over your head and coming right down next to the central one and ending again 4 finger widths under your belly button. And that one's white. So these are like our energy channels. And then in the meditation, when you're breathing through the right nostril, you're bringing in the white light, and it fills that whole channel. And then at the end of the channel, when you're doing the right nostril, you imagine that the left and right channels connect, and then all of the white light goes out of the right, travels into the left, and then it pushes all of your desires, all of your clinging desires, attachments, in the form of black smoke. They're caught up in that channel, and it pushes them all out of your left nostril, and then it clears that channel. So you do that visualization 3 times, and then you do the left one. Again, the same thing. White light goes in, exchanges at the bottom, and then you push the black smoke, and all of that black smoke is all your angers, depressions, and anxieties. So they're pushed out of your... And these represents your mind, your mental states. So you're clearing all those mental states out. And then on the third round, you breathe right through both nostrils, white light, and then this time the 2 feed into the central one at the bottom, and then it fills it with light, and all of your ignorance mental states are then turned into black smoke and then pushed out through both nostrils. So this meditation really settles those disturbing mental states. It's a way of visualising and engaging with the mind to really clear those really coarse level mental states. In a way that you don't have to think about them, or you don't have to go to therapy and talk about them here. You can just try and clear them through this visualization. And then again, so you only have to do 3 and 3 and 3, and that's the 9, the round breathing. So if you just want to we'll do it. I'll lead it through, so you can, now that you're familiar a bit with it. So just get in a comfortable meditation position. And again, the most important thing with meditation, sitting on a chair is absolutely fine. It's the straight back, and especially from a Buddhist point of view, those channels that we're talking about today, that the energy channels and the mind are very much related. How your consciousness flows, and how it moves. So that's why the importance of the straight back. So again, if you can visualize those 3 channels that we talked about, the central one going from the eyebrows, wrapping around your head, going in front of your spine, and just ending about 4 finger widths below your belly button, just below your navel. And then the right one from your right nostril. It's a much thinner, like from a stalk of wheat. And it's a red in colour. And again, it goes from your nostril around the curve of your head and runs down your side. And the left one from the left nostril again runs along the curve of your head, along the side. So when you breathe in, if you want, you can close off your nostril if you want to. Otherwise, you can just imagine you're breathing in through your right nostril, white light. It completely fills that energy channel, and it pushes into the left energy channel. And all the accumulates there in the left energy channel, and all the energy wind of defilement, of longing and desire leaves your body in the form of rays of black smoke, black light, from your left nostril. So do that 3 times. And so then when you've done that, switch to your left nostril. And bring in white light. Completely fill that channel. And it goes into the right energy channel. It accumulates there, all the black smoke of anger, repulsion, frustration, and it's all pushed out, and it all comes out through your right nostril. Do that 3 times. And then move to breathing in through both nostrils. And white light passes down both energy channels, so they're completely clear now, completely cleared and filled with light. There's no blockages in them. The light is flowing really strongly. And it accumulates now in the central channel, because both of those channels now enter at the bottom into the central channel. And then all the accumulation of the energy in the central channel, which is represented as closed-minded ignorance in the form of black light, gets completely pushed out of the central channel, and it leaves through both nostrils. So now just sit there and feel that those 3 channels are completely clear and filled with light. And all those discursive mental states have left you. Okay. All right. That's great. Okay, we can move now. I can have a bit of a break. And just something I picked up, when you do those meditation or any meditation, especially if you're engaging the breath in any way, the technique is that you shouldn't hear your breath. So again, it's very, very gentle. Just very, very gently breathing. Because again, the idea of force is a conceptual mind. That's the conceptualization. Force comes, it's a mental state. And in meditation, we want to be relaxed. So if we're forcing, if we've got the idea of force, our mind isn't relaxed. It's in a state. And that's why those visualization meditations are good, at whether you believe in the channels or not. If you do them very gently and then you have that notion of that clarity of those channels, your mind will automatically be in a gentle, relaxed state. And the channels are represented. The wind that flows through those channels is how from a Buddhist perspective anyway, is the mind does move through channels. So I know from a science point of view, they think it's the brain, although now they're saying the stomach has all of these neural pathways as well. But consciousness itself, from a Buddhist point of view, takes from the whole body along that spine. So consciousness will move. Where neuroscience is now saying there's a lot of pathways through the stomach and right through as well. So it's this idea of really just our mind being in that clear state, and all of those heavy conceptual. So the black smoke represents those heavy conceptual states. So even imagining that and entering into that with gentle mindfulness is a way it's naturally calming of our mind. And all those heavy conceptual states, without thinking about them, we're just getting rid of them, we're leaving them. So that meditation is a really good one to set yourself up with, and it takes, obviously, it's 9 breaths, so it's not a big investment in time. So that's good. All right. So for our next meditation, we'll just try and sit now. We've calmed our minds. It's not so busy as hopefully it was when we first walked in here today. So now we'll just sit again in meditation. And now really it's before, when we did our first little exercise, we really, I guess, people did engage that mind. So now we're going to do kind of the opposite. We're going to be like an observer. Lama Yeshe used to call it the mindfulness fish. So we can pretend our mind's like a fishbowl, and then we're like a little fish in the corner of that fishbowl, and we're observing our mind. So again, we're not engaged in caught up in the past or the present or the future state in thinking. We're just going to be little observers of our mind, because thoughts will come and thoughts will go, or if you find yourself getting lost, think of the clouds in the sky, how they dissolve and how they come and go. You can't control, you can't stop that. It's just a process that happens. It just naturally abides like that itself. They come out, the clouds turn into something very quickly, and then they dissolve back into sky very quickly. So whatever works for you, to try and engage your mind in a different way by just being an observer of the mind. And you know, if you get the mindfulness fishes, if you're in judgment, or this is wrong, or this is bad, or whatever, boring, or their conceptual states. Okay, I've got caught up in my conceptual states. You know, in a way, we just want to watch those conceptual states come and go, rather than start getting caught up in them. We're having a holiday. Okay, so let's give it a go for a few minutes. Okay, so just spend some time now. The meditation's ended, so let it be finished. And then maybe just spend a minute reflecting on what you learnt about your mind. You know, rejoice in doing that meditation, and so, you know, generate a good feeling about that meditation. Our minds are habituated, and so that, which is good and bad. So we have lots of bad habits, but we can also retrain our minds. So just maybe take a learning, one thing you might have learnt from that meditation. And again, with meditation, never go too long. You're better off doing it short and enjoying it than making it torturous. Like even a couple of minutes to just calm the mind down a bit, or to disengage from too many thoughts, too much going on. And often when we start meditating, or some days when we're really busy or things aren't going great, it will seem, our mind seems so busy and so much happening. But that's happening anyway. We're just taking the time to notice it. All right. Well done, everybody. Thanks for that. So does anyone have any questions? Mm-hmm. Yes. Just your own natural breath. Yeah, your own natural breath. It's hard when you're leading it, but yeah. So just, and always breathe into your stomach, so you get that full breath in, but natural. Don't try and force it, just what your natural breath is. And so it should be relaxed and natural. And again, if you do it, don't keep trying to do it. For this one, they'd say just do it once, and then maybe the next day try it again, and then do it that way. It really is like a preliminary type meditation, but it's a good way to clear the mind if you're really angry or really something's going on. It's a nice clearing one to do as well. So 9 breaths. I mean, it's a couple of minutes really. It's very short, which is perfect. Meditation doesn't have to be long. We shouldn't be sitting at a beginner for hours or an hour. 5 minutes is more than enough. 5.
When do you stop being a beginner?
When do you stop being a beginner? Oh well, I don't know. I think that's a personal journey, isn't it? I think, how we progress is all personal. I mean, there's no judgment. It's just what it is. It is, Always a beginner, really, aren't we? We're always learning. Always learning. But, we do know from, let's say the Dalai Lama, he would not be a beginner. Very deep mental attainments, and that's why he is who he is, because he has very deep meditational experiences that go into those deeper level states of mind. And, non-conceptual even, so that's quite profound, but yeah. So, but it doesn't matter, what's a beginner? Often if you look back a year on yourself and you think, wow, isn't that amazing? I have so much control of my anger now than I didn't before, or, I can see myself starting to get into an anxious spiral of thoughts. If you do these meditations, that's what you're hoping, I think from an everyday perspective, that's what you might look back and say, well, isn't that fantastic? I'm familiar with my mind. I can see those spirals and they're not helpful. But beginner, not beginner, it's not really, doesn't really matter. Hopefully it's helpful. I think also, for meditation you can get, just a more peaceful feeling. I think that's the point, to have a more peaceful feeling and to enjoy that, the quieter of the quietness of your mind. Did people find that meditation was helpful? They could see their thoughts and engage them differently from the first one? So that's good. It's seasoned meditators. So it's very easy. All right, if there's no more questions, we can leave it there. I'm not sure if there's cake in there. No. There is a cup of tea if people want a cup of tea. Otherwise, have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your evening and your week. And next week is a public holiday, but the class will still be on. And so we always do it on a public holiday. All right. Thank you, everybody.